Most Christians know the scriptures, but they don't really believe in God, even though they think they do. The proof is that their faith is null because they resist the Holy Spirit, whom they don't understand when they hear Him or when they read Him in the scriptures, even though they think they do. Dear Christians, the Holy Spirit never ended His work in the Old Testament, and likewise He never ended His work in the New Testament 2000 years ago. Holy Spirit-filled children of God always write new scriptures inspired by the Spirit of God. Yes, the message is the same as it was from the foundation of the world. Repent, turn from your wicked ways and practice righteousness. Love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself. It all goes down to this, but that doesn't mean we don't have to read the entire Bible. And it most certainly does not mean we don't need to follow the guidance of the Holy Spirit, whom the Lord Jesus Christ promised to those who love and obey His commandments, to guide them into all truth. Unfortunately, most Christians believe that the Holy Spirit will only speak that which is already written in the Bible. If this were true, then why are we reading the writings of the apostles, of whom we know they didn't share any other gospel than the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ? Dear friends, they indeed share their testimony of how the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ worked in them, but they also followed the guidance of the Holy Spirit, whom continued the work He has been working from the beginning, and they constantly shared the new revelation revealed to them by the Spirit of God. Now Christians are wondering, how can we know those who are truly filled with the Spirit of God so that we may know whom to believe and follow? This is the point, dear friends. It's not about following after other people. The question we have to ask ourselves is, am I following the guidance of the Holy Spirit? Do I know His voice from all the others? Because if I don't, then how can I follow Him? Do not deceive yourself. Interpreting the scriptures with our human mind, it wasn't enough for the Pharisees, and it isn't enough for us. Those who follow the guidance of the Spirit of God are children of God. Romans chapter 8 verse 14. The Holy Spirit will speak by the authority of the Father and will tell us new things, things that are to come, things that might not already be in the scriptures, especially because He is the Spirit of truth and only He can guide us into all truth. He's not a universal spirit ready to agree with all Christians' doctrines out there in the name of love. He will always convict the world of sin, righteousness, and judgment. The reason why most Christians don't follow the guidance of the Spirit of God is because deep down they don't really believe in God. They might read the scriptures, but they resist the Spirit of God. The Lord Jesus Christ died for our sins so that He may give us another chance, and so that we may make another covenant with Him, by which we are bound to deny ourselves, pick up our cross, and follow Him. Do not be deceived. A covenant with God will never be a license to sin. There are serious Christians that do not practice deliberate sin and obey the gospel, but they don't follow the guidance of the Spirit of God. They are deceived. They practice deliberate sin and do not obey the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ, because only the Spirit of God can reveal to us the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ according to the truth of God. We cannot determine the truth of God with our own minds. For example, pride can have a different standard from person to person. Many serious Christians believe it's not a sin not to pay their taxes. Others believe it's not a sin to be in debt. Without the guidance of the Spirit of God, without actively hearing the voice of the Good Shepherd, without a close, tangible, quenchable relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ, we have no idea when we live in sin and when we don't, which means we don't actually know the truth. We don't know the Lord Jesus Christ. I want to encourage all Christians to seek the guidance of the Spirit of God, which is divine, supernatural revelation, with all their heart, to teach and to guide them into all truth, because the Bible and our interpretation of it can never save us, even if we might have good intentions. We know not what we are doing. May the Lord Jesus Christ bless you.